नौकरी का साधन नहीं है। नौकरी लेनी है तो रेलवे में जाइए, पीएनजी में जाइए और बहुत से जरिए हैं, अपना ओन बिजनेस खोलिए। अगर भारतीय सेना में आना है तो कठिनाइयों का सामना करने के लिए आपको काबिल होना पड़ेगा। आपको मानसिक और शारीरिक रूप से काबिल होना पड़ेगा। हर एक जवान को ये एक राय दी जाती है कि आप जिस भी कार्य को करने जा रहे हैं, आपने इन 5 शब्दों को ध्यान में रखना है, वो है नाम, नमक, निशान, वफादारी और इज्जत।
जैसे ही सर एंटर करेंगे और लाइटिंग लैम्प के लिए
I just got to the bedside table and I saw a small booklet in which he had written Gurwali words. So, good to know that even he had small notes of he wanted to learn the new language, or he wanted to learn Gurwali and all. And to see that little pad with his handwritten notes.
हनुमान सिंह प्रसाद और उनके प्रणाम, ग्राम काज की निर्मित मोहित आविष्कार। मैंने जनरल बिपिन रावत के कार्यकाल को इन्हीं लाइनों में देखा जब हनुमान जी कहते हैं कि जब तक वो सीता माता का पता नहीं कर लेते उन्हें विश्राम नहीं। तो बिपिन रावत ने भी चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ पर रहते हुए अपने कार्य को इसी धारणा के साथ धारण किया।
He was duty people when India first time struck across its border and carried out the first surgical strike. He was the vice chief to General Suhag when the Uri surgical strikes were carried out on 28th or 29th September 2016. And thereafter he was the chief of army staff during the long standoff in Doklam. Bhatt was sitting there, he was the DGMO, 16th of June to 28th of August 2016. And he was chief of army staff during the Balakot strike. And we all know about Balakot strike, but post-Balakot strike, the management of that escalation which took place between us and Pakistan, that was far more important. And we had a senior officer to guide us all during that time. That was immense importance. However, all this thing, in my view, pales in comparison with what he did for the NKR. That was his biggest contribution to change the narrative of counterinsurgency and counter-terrorist operation in the NKR. Besides changing the pace and scope of the operations over there, I just mentioned that in the introductory remarks about Operation Order. So whatever relative peace we enjoy today in JNK, in my view at least, is a follow-up of what he did actually as a chief of army staff. A bit of a hardline kind of an approach, but I think that was required at that particular time.
The country has lost a great patriot, a visionary, a strategic thinker. Indian Army has lost a great general, a great leader of the Indian Army. Here is one man who has always been very long.
Good afternoon.
For him nothing mattered but the nation. But he was always a person who was very brave, forward-looking, and who was very determined to achieve the result and whatever it was was. But more than a great soldier and more than a great hero and a great planner and a very thinker, he was also a great human being.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives us immense pleasure to welcome you all as we celebrate the 66th birth anniversary of India's first Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat. I would now request our chief guest, India's National Security Advisor, Shri Ajit Doval, to please proceed to start the evening by lighting of the lamp. I would also request our guest of honor, the Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, former Air Chief Marshal RKS Bhadoria, and General Bipin Rawat's daughter, Ms. Tarini Rawat, to also join Mr. Ajit Doval to start the evening by lighting of the lamp. I would also request our other esteemed guests who are joining us today to please proceed to pay our respects and homage to late General Bipin Rawat. With us today this afternoon is Air Marshal A.P. Singh, Vice Chief of Air Staff, Vice Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi, Vice Chief of Naval Staff, Lieutenant General Upendra Dwivedi, Vice Chief of Army Staff, Air Marshal Sandeep Singh, Military Advisor to the NSCS, Vice Admiral G. Ashok Kumar, National Maritime Security Coordinator, Lieutenant General Anil Bhatt, DG Indian Space Association, Shri A.K. Dhasmana, former Chairman of RAW and NTRO, Shri Rajendra Singh, Member NDMA, Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, CEO and Chairman Board of CDOT, Dr. Manmohan Singh Chauhan, Vice Chancellor of G.B. Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Srimati Sushma Rawat, Director Exploration of ONGC, Air Marshal Ashutosh Dikshit, Deputy Chief of the Indian Air Force. I would now request former Air Chief Marshal Mr. R.K.S. Bhadoria to kindly felicitate our chief guest today, Shri Ajit Doval. I would request Shri R.K.S. Bhadoria to also felicitate Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan by handing over the bouquet. I would now request Senior Editor of Aaj Tak, Shri Manjeet Negi, to welcome the daughter of late General Bipin Rawat, Ms. Tarani Rawat. स्वर्गीय जनरल बिपिन रावत जी की सोच को अक्षुण्ण रखने और आगे ले जाने के उद्देश्य से उनसे जुड़े हम सभी लोगों ने जीबीआर मेमोरियल फाउंडेशन का गठन किया है। आज इस मौके पर जीबीआर मेमोरियल फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडिया को आधिकारिक रूप से लॉन्च किया जा रहा है। हमारा मानना है कि जनरल बिपिन रावत सिर्फ एक व्यक्ति का नाम नहीं, बल्कि देश सेवा में जुटी एक संस्था और विजन का नाम है। उन्होंने जीवन भर देश के सेनाओं और युवाओं को राष्ट्र निर्माण से जोड़ने के मिशन में योगदान दिया। इस मौके पर हम जनरल बिपिन रावत जी पर बनी एक फिल्म का प्रदर्शन करना चाहेंगे, जिसके माध्यम से हमें उन्हें और करीब से जानने का एक मौका मिलेगा।
कई नौजवान आते हैं कि सर मुझे भारतीय सेना में नौकरी चाहिए। मैं उन्हें यही बोलता हूं कि भारतीय सेना नौकरी का साधन नहीं है। नौकरी लेनी है तो रेलवेज में जाइए, पीएनटी में जाइए और बहुत से जरिए हैं। अपना ओन बिजनेस खोल लीजिए। अगर भारतीय सेना में आना है तो कठिनाइयों का सामना करने के लिए आपको काबिल होना पड़ेगा, आपको मानसिक और शारीरिक।
हर एक जवान को ये सिखलाई दी जाती है कि आप जिस भी कार्य को करने जा रहे हैं, आपने इन 5 शब्दों को ध्यान में रखना है। वो है नाम, नमक, निशान, वफादारी और इज्जत।
Papa was actually trying to learn Garhwali, and I think yesterday for some work I had just gone to his bedside table and I saw a small booklet in which he had written Garhwali words. So it's good to know that, even he had small notes of he wanted to learn a new language, or he wanted to learn Garhwali and all. And to see that little pad with his handwritten notes.
हनुमान तेह परसा कर पुनि कीन प्रणाम, राम काज कीन है बिनु मोहे कहां विश्राम। मैंने जनरल बिपिन रावत के कार्यकाल को इन्हीं लाइनों में देखा, जब हनुमान जी कहते हैं कि जब तक वो सीता माता का पता नहीं कर लेते उन्हें विश्राम नहीं है। तो बिपिन रावत ने भी चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ पर रहते हुए अपने कार्य को इसी धारणा के साथ धारण किया।
He was GOC 3 Corps when India first time struck across its borders and carried out the first surgical strikes. He was the vice chief to General Suhag when the Uri surgical strikes were carried out in 28 to 29 September 2016. And thereafter he was the chief of army staff during the long standoff in Doklam when General Bhatt, who is sitting here, he was the DGMO between 16th of June to 28th of August 2016 again. And he was chief of army staff during the Balakot strikes. And we all know about Balakot strikes, but post Balakot strikes, that management of that escalation which took place between us and Pakistan, that was far more important. And we had a senior officer to guide us all during that time. That was of immense importance. However, all this thing, in my view, pales in comparison for what he did for J&K actually. That was his biggest contribution to change the narrative of counterinsurgency and counter-terrorist operation in J&K. Besides changing the pace and scope of the operations over there, they just mentioned that in the introductory remarks about Operation All Out. So whatever relative peace we enjoy today in J&K is, to, in my view at least, is a fallout of what he did actually as the Chief of Army Staff. A bit of a hardline kind of an approach, but I think that was required at that particular time.
The country has lost a great patriot, a visionary, a strategic thinker. Indian Army has lost a great general, a great leader of the Indian Army. Here is one man who was always very positive, very optimistic. For him nothing mattered but the nation. But he was always a person who was very, very forward-looking and who was very determined to achieve the results and whatever it may be the cost. But more than a great soldier and more than a great hero and a great planner and a military thinker, he was also a great human being.
Officially launched the General Bipin Rawat Memorial Foundation of India, which has been founded in honour and respect of India's first Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat. I would request our esteemed guests to also launch this T-shirt that has images of General Bipin Rawat. इस साल 9 मार्च को जनरल बिपिन रावत की पावन स्मृति में पौड़ी गढ़वाल जिले में उनकी एक मूर्ति और 80 फीट लंबा तिरंगा एवं पार्क का रक्षा एवं पर्यटन राज्य मंत्री अजय भट्ट और जनरल बिपिन रावत की सुपुत्री तारिणी रावत ने उद्घाटन किया था। यह इको पार्क 128 इन्फेंट्री बटालियन, राजपुताना राइफल्स और जीबीआर मेमोरियल फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडिया के सहयोग से 4 धाम की थीम पर बनाया गया है। आइए देखते हैं इस कार्यक्रम की कुछ झलकियां।
हमारे बीच आज के मुख्य अतिथि केंद्रीय रक्षा और पर्यटन राज्य मंत्री अजय भट्ट जी मौजूद हैं। ये 16 मार्च को देश के प्रथम सीडीएस जनरल बिपिन रावत जी का जन्मदिन है। उससे पहले आज हमने यहाँ पर ग्राम तल्लाबनास और लौसित वनवासी हनुमान जी के प्रांगण में एक तिरंगा पार्क और जनरल रावत की एक मूर्ति स्थापित की, जिसका अनावरण आज रक्षा राज्य मंत्री अजय भट्ट जी, जो कि नैनीताल के हमारे माननीय सांसद भी हैं, उनके कर कमलों से हुआ। हमारे बीच में स्वर्गीय जनरल बिपिन रावत की सुपुत्री तारिणी मौजूद हैं।
एक इतिहास यहाँ पर आज रचा गया है। ये पर्यटक की दृष्टि से भी रहेगा, और जो हम बॉर्डर टूरिज्म रावत जी के दिमाग में थी, बार बार मुझसे कहते थे, कुछ स्पॉट भी छांटे थे, ये भी एक किस्म से बॉर्डर टूरिज्म ही है हम, क्योंकि बॉर्डर इलाके के रहने वाले लोग हैं हम।
Foundation of India aims to instill a sense of national service among the youth and citizens of our nation. उत्तराखंड की सैन्य परंपरा को शिखर पे ले जाने वाले सुपूत का नाम है जनरल बिपिन रावत। वह थल सेना प्रमुख के पद से सेना निवृत्त होने के साथ ही देश के पहले चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ नियुक्त किए गए थे। जमीन से जुड़े रुख के चलते ही वह काफी लोकप्रिय सीडीएस रहे। सीडीएस के बतौर उन्होंने तीनों सेनाओं के बीच बेहतर समन्वय कायम कर भारत को एशिया की सैन्य महाशक्ति बनाने का मिशन हाथ में लिया था। वह रक्षा मंत्री के प्रमुख सैन्य सलाहकार भी थे, मगर काल ने उन्हें समय से पहले ही छीन लिया। 8 दिसंबर 2021 को वे अपनी पत्नी मधुलिका रावत और 12 अन्य वीर अफसरों और जवानों के साथ एक हेलीकॉप्टर दुर्घटना में मृत्यु का शिकार हो गए। जनरल बिपिन रावत की कोशिश सेना के तीनों अंगों को ऐसे सशस्त्र बल के रूप में विकसित करना रहा, जिसमें उनकी क्षमताएं, साजो सामान और सैनिक एकीकृत हो। चाहे चीन के साथ लद्दाख में विवाद हो, या पीओके और म्यांमार में सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक, या फिर कश्मीर में आतंकवाद की कमर तोड़ने की सफल राजनीति, इन सभी का श्रेय उन्हें जाता है। सेना में महिलाओं को स्थायी तौर पर शामिल करने का फैसला भी उनके कार्यकाल में हुआ। Late General Bipin Rawat was also a sports enthusiast. In fact, Asia's oldest football tournament, Durand Cup, has been organized only with his vision. The tournament has now become a multi-city tournament organized by the Indian Army. General Bipin Rawat was born on 16th March 1958 in Uttarakhand's Pauri district. His father, Lieutenant General Lakshman Singh Rawat, retired as the Deputy Chief of the Army Staff. After completing his education in Dehradun, he went on to join the National Defence Academy in Khadakwasla and Dehradun's Indian Military Academy. He was also commissioned into the 5th Battalion of the 11th Gorkha Rifles in 1979. General Rawat was one of the most decorated cadets of his batch. GBR Memorial Foundation of India has been founded to take this forward, the thoughts and visions of late General Bipin Rawat. पूर्व वायुसेना प्रमुख एयर चीफ मार्शल आर.के.एस. भदौरिया जी ने जीबीआर मेमोरियल फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडिया के संस्थापक अध्यक्ष की जिम्मेदारी स्वीकार की है। Air Chief Marshal Rakesh Kumar Singh Bhadoria is a highly decorated officer of the Indian Air Force. He has served as the Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Southern Air Command. He was also the Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Training Command and Vice Chief of the Air Staff before being appointed as the Chief of Air Staff in 2019. I would now request former Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadoria to please take the stage and say a few words.
Shri Ajit Doval sir, National Security Advisor, General Anil Chauhan, Chief of Defence Staff, Ms. Tarini, Vice Chiefs from the 3 services, Senior Defence Officers, all the dignitaries here and the family members here, very good evening. At the outset, I want to thank NSA for really taking out his time. It is a very special and emotional moment and connect for the GBR Foundation itself to be inaugurated by your hands, and we really can't thank you enough for being here and for inaugurating the GPR Foundation. As you could see, there is so much of attention and love that has gone behind that. The foundation, the opening stuff was packed so tightly and neatly that it took time to open. So everybody here has come with special attachment to General Rawat, and that is the spirit that we want to carry forward when we remember him. General Rawat was not only a personal friend but a colleague and a real military thinker who really contributed immensely towards modernization of army when he was the army chief, apart from the tremendous contribution in his earlier appointments. And as Chief of Defence Staff towards modernization of the three services, towards restructuring and integration of the services, and towards everything that was required to be done to convert the services and get them future ready. And his loss in a tragic accident and its untimely demise was really a shock, not only to all of us in the military, to the nation. We lost a military hero, a national hero, and lost beyond our boundaries too. So in order to really carry forward his legacy for his contributions to the military prowess and essentially towards the strategic capability of the country, we after the first memorial lecture in 22 on his birth anniversary said that we would carry forward this theme of doing a memorial lecture on his birth anniversary. This is the third one, and we thank you, sir, for agreeing to give this memorial talk, and also to form a foundation which can in a structured manner carry forward these tasks and take his legacy for the future. And the intent of this foundation is to empower the youth and to enable and support them in all and every way possible, especially the underprivileged, the people with lesser means, and people in remote areas who, in spite of means, don't have the support system. So while we are starting this focus from Uttarakhand in order to start it from his native place and grow outwards, this will essentially be an effort pan-India on the national front as we grow as a foundation, and target to firstly across the board provide support in skilling to the youth, for social and economic support, for financial support, and support for all kinds of training and systems in order to prepare the eligible and the youth who are ready towards, especially towards entry into defense services and civil services, and for the youth who are not into this domain, for any domain of their choice. So the matrix is quite wide, and we really hope that we will be able to do justice, because everybody who has agreed to join into this foundation has joined voluntarily and has already contributed a lot towards doing some of the preparatory work that has already gone on, even without a kind of fund being established, more or less on voluntary basis. And some result of that you saw in the form of the Tiranga Park inauguration and many of the events that have taken place. So as a foundation, we want to urge all of you in your own capacities and in your own areas of expertise and domains to contribute with us or to join with us in any way which possible. And hopefully we would do a good job of carrying this legacy forward, carrying his memory forward, and making a difference in areas where there is lack of support. I again thank you all for really taking your time off, all the dignitaries who are here. And sir, thank you very much for this inauguration today and for agreeing to give the memorial talk. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Shri R.K.S. Bhadoria ji, for sharing your vision with everyone present here today. General Anil Chauhan, the Chief of Defence Staff, is also amongst us, the officer who is spearheading the Indian Armed Forces in alignment with the vision set forth by General Bipin Rawat. Under the leadership of General Anil Chauhan, Indian Army is evolving through modernization efforts, technological advancements, and strategic planning to effectively meet the challenges of contemporary warfare and to ensure the defense and security of the country. General Anil Chauhan carries the responsibility of our nation's security. General Chauhan took over as the successor of India's first Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat. Prior to this, he has served as the military advisor in the National Security Council's Secretariat. He was also appointed as the General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Eastern Command. As Chief of Eastern Command, under his guidance, the concept of integrated battle groups in the 17 Corps is finally taking shape. During the Chinese deadlock, he also took up the responsibility of the entire eastern region of the country. Commissioned to the 11th Gorkha Rifles in 1981, General Chauhan has vast experience of handling the situations in Jammu and Kashmir and other parts of India. He played a very crucial role in the Balakot airstrikes against Pakistan. He has been awarded the Vishisht Seva Medal, the Sena Medal, the Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, the Uttam Yuddha Seva Medal, and the Param Vishisht Seva Medal. I would now request General Anil Chauhan, I beg your pardon, to please take the stage and address the gathering.
Respected National Security Advisor, Shri Ajit Doval, Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria, Shri Manjeet Negi, Tarini Rawat, distinguished guests, officers, gentlemen and ladies. Manjeet had asked me to speak on India's move towards higher defense reforms, and as the subject was introduced, it's a legacy actually, which actually General Bipin Rawat started. Last month, I was in Lucknow at my regimental center, celebrating the platinum jubilee of our regiment. General Bipin and me were from the same regiment, and someone inquired from me the reasons behind my successful military career. I told him that 3 of my predecessors in the battalion, who were extremely competent officers, they laid the benchmarks of professional excellence, and I just followed that particular line. General Bipin Rawat and myself, we are from the same regiment, but different battalions. I followed him as the 2nd Chief of Defence Staff of the Armed Forces. Here again, my job was made slightly easier. He had set the initial set of reforms to be undertaken that were actually shown by him. It helped me convert his thoughts and ideas into firm policies and lay down achievable milestones. The reforms that we are ushering today are a continuation of the process that actually was started by General Bipin Rawat as the first CDS of the country. But if I look back slightly in time, probably it was the government of India who took the first step for path of these reforms when they announced by creating this post of CDS and carving out a Department of Military Affairs. It was a bold and a major decision, and can be said to be the starting point of the reforms that are being attempted now. The creation of the post of CDS and carving out of this Department of Military Affairs has propelled the 3 services to work together. The synergy between the 3 services, I can say today, has been more than ever before. The spirit of creating something new is there, and there is a changed mindset. I believe all of this will propel us to the next generation of reforms. I think the armed forces today are at the cusp of this major change and transformation. Heraclitus, an ancient Greek philosopher, had said that the change is only constant in life. Change is part of nature. It's part of natural environment. It is necessary to survive. Here I like to quote Charles Darwin, who in his seminal work, Origin of Species, had said that variation, inheritance, selection, timing, and adaptation are necessary for any species to survive. I would like to translate this into Hindi to bring out the import and the importance of this particular quote. परिवर्तन, विरासत, चयन, समय, अनुकूलन किसी भी परिजाति को के अस्तित्व को बताने के लिए अनिवार्य है. What Darwin said in his theory of natural selection was true for organisms. I think that it's equally true for organizations. This is true for hierarchical and structured tradition-bound organizations like the armed forces. In the process of natural selection, the change in the species is gradual, it's slow, and it's also automatic. In organizations, we'll have to be imaginative, innovative, and inventive to survive. We may also require a little bit of push from the outside to get this process of change slightly faster. Let me now talk about future wars. There is a maxim that says that armed forces should be prepared to fight the future war and not the past one. The future of war, I believe, is changing and changing rather fast. It's difficult to predict the trajectory of future wars with accuracy, as it does not follow a linear kind of progression at times due to convergence of disruptive technologies. However, some trends can be predicted, and I'll basically attempt that. I think firstly, the future wars will be multi-domain operations, merging the old domains of land, air, and maritime with the new domains of cyber, space, and electromagnetic spectrum. Secondly, there will be convergence of kinetic, non-kinetic, along with the cognitive domain, that's the informational domain, in application of force. Thirdly, disruptive technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics, smart networks, edge computing will propel the current paradigm of whatever we say is information superiority in operations to decision superiority in future battles. Battlefield transparency and situational awareness will reach new heights and new levels. This is predicted on proliferation of sensors. Means if we see today, God has given us all, we are about 8 billion people, and there may be about 16 billion eyes actually, God-given sensors on this earth. The number of sensors which man has produced has probably crossed that. They're available on all your smartphones, all your laptops, all your PCs, they're there on roads, they're there on satellites, they're there on drones, they're everywhere, they're ubiquitous, and they may be more than what God has produced. So in such kind of a warfare, there's nothing like camouflage, concealment, feints, and physical deception. All these things are a day of past. This is because of enhanced battlefield transparency. In future, I think we'll have to rely on cognitive domain to deceive the enemy. Deepfakes, digital twins, toolkits for infill operations, they'll become the order of the day. The fifth major change which I think we'll see in warfare is the quantum of long-range vectors and precision guidance. Small radar cross-section weapons, vectors like drones, loiter ammunition, and stealth technologies will put a lot of strain on air defense networks. There'll be gaps, and it will be difficult to protect large and static platforms. There will be a major change in future. Long back, Clausewitz had talked about fog and friction of war. And fog is basically getting removed because of this battlefield transparency which I just spoke about. It's dependent on the large amount of sensors which we'll have in battlefield tomorrow. And the friction he spoke about, that kind of which happens in maneuver, we have this advanced technologies which again I spoke about, which actually provide you good mobility. Innovations in robotics, autonomous systems, and biotechnology will impact global peace and security, the nature of armed conflicts, and the manner in which security is managed. Constant security of these developments and putting forth their potential to the decision makers will be critical in future. The trends of warfare dictate that we create organizational structures that are integrated and joint for multi-domain operations, about which I referred right at the beginning. We should be able to offer a credible response across the spectrum of operations, and I believe the spectrum of operations will range from what I call as 5 C's, that is competition, confrontation, crisis, conflict, and combat. And combat means war, in an integrated and a cohesive kind of manner. The foundation of integrated and future-ready operational structures rests on 2 fundamental principles: jointness and integration. Jointness, it can be defined as the spirit of working together, a congenial kind of an atmosphere, removing mistrust that exists between the three services. This, in my view, has been achieved to a large extent, and this year, at least I would be trying to do something on joint culture. We all aware that the past 77 years or so, the three services have grown almost independently, creating their own fiefdoms, their own capabilities, and along with it, their own culture. So today we have a culture of the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. There is nothing known as a joint culture in the services. I think unless we create this joint culture, we cannot expect the joint organization that we create for warfighting to survive or to do efficiently well. So that should be an important step, and we will try and create this kind of a fourth culture in the armed forces, which is joint culture, to work together. Creating culture means, we all know, it takes some amount of time, but without this, there's no way forward. The next is integration. This is a physical process. It involves selection and incorporation of the best practices among the three services. When we incorporate the best practices in the three services, we are looking at the highest common denominator and not at the lowest common denominator, highest common factor. We've identified about 9 verticals for integrating the three services. It's a physical process, which I said. It deals with operations, operation logistics, training, intelligence, human resource, legal issues, administration, supply chain management, and maintenance of equipment. Last year, actually, we had carried out a number of activities which showcased jointness and integration between the three services. The first among them was deployment of MiG-29s of the Indian Navy at Nalia Airfield on ORP duties, thus relieving Indian Air Force for important jobs up north. We had also carried out a number of single services exercise which had been converted into bi-service or tri-service kind of exercise. Recently, you would have seen exercise Vayu Shakti. The name was Vayu Shakti, but there was participation of all the three services into this exercise. And a couple of days back, you would have seen the Bharat Shakti demonstration, which was the lead service for the Army, but capability of the three services, including space and cyber, were demonstrated in that particular exercise. So this way, what we are attempting would be to convert all the initiatives and events which we have taken into firm orders and instructions to provide some kind of an endurance to this particular effort. The further reforms in organizational and operational structures will require some changes in higher defense organization. It will also require development of new concepts and commensurate doctrines for carrying out joint operations. Induction of new capabilities and technologies like drones, hypersonics, net centricity will necessitate review of existing doctrines and our training pamphlets. It will require generation of new thoughts and ideas in the institutes of our higher learning. Some course correction towards this end is already on. Next, I would like to speak about the Agniveer scheme. This is again a kind of a transformative scheme that at least strengthens the commanding officer who are at the cutting edge of combat. And here, these officers have a choice in the selection of people who think they will retain with themselves for actual combat. I think we are strengthening that commanding officer at the cutting edge, and there could be nothing better than this particular scheme. The scheme has many other advantages. The scheme is it's not only strengthening the armed forces, it's strengthening the nation by getting back trained people, motivate people back into the civil street, and to carry forward the reforms which we are expecting the nation to actually perform. The scheme also has a possibility of scaling up numbers in times of crisis. Today people are there with a 4-year kind of a term, but should there be a crisis or a long war, as we have witnessed in case of, say, Ukraine and Russia, we could easily increase the terms of engagement from 4 to 5 years. That will give you a ready-made strength increase of almost about 50,000 persons per year. The next I would like to, this particular scheme was introduced during the time of General Bipin Rawat, and he was a great proponent of this particular scheme, Agniveer. Atmanirbharta was another initiative which was initiated at the time of General Bipin Rawat, and this is a subject by itself and was another bold initiative that will help the nation maintain its strategic autonomy. It will help by reducing import dependency and increasing defense domestic production. As our infrastructure becomes better, more and more foreign products will form strategic partnerships with India, and this will lead to better utilization of the defense budget. Improved research and development coupled with coming of age of indigenous defense production will make us self-reliant and reduce dependencies on global supply chains. Local manufacturing will also help create employment opportunities for hundreds of people. In conclusion, I would like to say that in the histories of nations, there comes a turning point when nations grab that moment and achieve the impossible. The Japanese post-war economic miracle after World War II and the Germans' reconstruction in 50s and 70s are example of this. And I believe that India's Amrit Kal has arrived. India has to transform on many fronts and is now ready to take off to a next orbit of development. Our Vision 2047 is to become a Viksit Bharat. Viksit Bharat, in my view, has also to be a Shashakt Bharat. We need to conceptualize the future and create it as we want it. As the armed forces, we need to think ahead, crystal gaze, as we visualize future, warfare in future, and chalk out bold, ambitious, and transformative agenda. Military and defense reforms that are being attempted are just a stepping stone and part of the larger change that we want to implement, and we become a future-ready armed force. So, as I said in the beginning, what I'm trying to attempt is what General Bipin Rawat started and initiated. I hope I succeed. I think it will make that old man happy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, General Anil Chauhan, for sharing your insights and guidance. Now, we would like to speak about our esteemed chief guest joining us today. The man who has been tasked with taking the most difficult decisions and formulate impeccable strategies on issues that pose great threat to India's safety, security, and integrity is India's National Security Advisor, Shri Ajit Doval. 2014 में प्रचंड बहुमत से प्रधानमंत्री चुने जाने के बाद श्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा सलाहकार के रूप में अपनी टीम में जिस पराक्रमी और दूरदर्शी सैन्य प्रशासक को स्थान दिया था, उसका नाम है अजीत डोवाल। आने वाले समय में देश के सामने किस तरह के खतरे होंगे, दुश्मन देशों के चक्रव्यूह का तोड़ क्या होगा, भारत पर होने वाले वार का पलटवार क्या होगा, इन सभी सवालों का एक ही जवाब है अजीत डोवाल। संभावित खतरों से निपटने की रणनीति तैयार करने की कला उन्हें बेजोड़ आती है। भारतीयों में राष्ट्रवाद की भावना का नए सिरे से संचार करने का श्रेय NSA अजीत डोवाल जी को जाता है। Shri Doval was awarded the prestigious Kirti Chakra and remains the only Indian police officer who was awarded this gallantry award. During the pandemic, it was Mr. Doval who, through his remarkable strategy and thinking, was able to convince America to provide raw materials for vaccines being manufactured in India. After the Afghanistan crisis, Mr. Doval became the powerhouse for India's foreign and security policies. Last year, Pantnagar University honored Shri Doval with an honorary degree. We will now request our esteemed chief guest, Shri Ajit Doval ji, to kindly take the stage and address the gathering.
Thank you very much.
Former Air Chief Marshal Bhaldoria, Chief of Defence Staff General Chauhan, Tarini Rawat, Manjit Negi, very distinguished professionals, senior generals here present, and also of the yesteryears with some of whom I had the pleasure of working. It's a very special day. It's a very special day, not only for all of us who are in this room, but also for the country. Today is a day when we commemorate a great son of this nation, a person who was the first, not only the first chief of the defense staff, but an icon, but a symbol of something that we considered as a symbol of perfection in soldiering. He was born on this day 66 years back. It is a very sad thing that we had to part the death had to part him from us. Otherwise, he had many great ideas, and he probably had much more energy and ideas and thoughts and vision, which still he could have contributed a lot. So in a way, it's a sad day. At the same time, it's also a day for us to remember and thank him for all that he did for the nation. I'm happy that much is being done to commemorate his memory. Formation of this foundation is a very good initiative. I do hope that it will achieve the objective of keeping his memory alive, which is important. But also what is important is what is that we can contribute through this foundation in building up our national capabilities. General Chauhan spoke about the changes that are coming in the military thinking, about the changing pattern of the conflicts, about the new frontiers of the technologies and international relations, supply chains, the economies, which are all going to affect the strategic scenario. They are all very important, and we are all at this stage. This is not a platform, and of course, it's not a place for me to tell about the strategic issues. But I'd like to share a very small thought with you. And the small thought is, why do we fight the wars? Is it to grab the territory? I'm talking in today's context. Is it to kill the people? What is the purpose and objective? It is actually we fight the wars to bring peace on our terms. And what is the most important ingredient of a nation that adds to his power? What is that we want to break the enemies? How do we bring him to agree to peace on our terms? We break his willpower. An army or the defense forces are one of the major instruments through which the willpower of the enemy is broken. Through coercive methods, and besides coercive methods, there can be other methods as well. Now, for building up this coercive capability, they have got to equip themselves, they have to have trained themselves, they have to professionalize themselves, they have got to anticipate these things. But the branding of the nation, most important thing is that if we want to break the will of the enemy, and if we want to break the will of our own people, the national will, it is extremely important that we are strong, we have got confidence in ourselves, and we have got the icons who have served the country and have done very well for that. I see General Rawat and his legacy, now that he is not here, whether we can leverage that for building up the national will, for creating his brand, his image as an inspirational brand for the people, for the citizens of this country, for the soldiers of this country, for the people in this arrangement where he worked, and everyone. This country needs these icons. We are short of them. Somehow we didn't have this tradition of building up these images. We thought that this cult figures is probably not a very good thing. We believe something which is much more ephemeral, something which is more abstract, rather than something which is more tangible. Heroes for the country are essential for the national will of any country, for the existence of any country. Now that this foundation is being formed, what is there that it can contribute? Well, it can only be a thing that, well, you will have lectures, you will have some discussions, you will have seminars on his death anniversary or on his birthday anniversary or others. Or is there something that they can contribute in building the national will? What is there that they can do and contribute? You have got a whole army of people who are not only for serving, but who are out of their service. You mentioned about the Agniveer scheme. We soon will have a large number of youth who have been trained and who have had the experience of having worked with these forces. They are going to come in the society, and not in this way, but they're coming in a couple of years. We'll have them in lakhs. They will be young, they will be trained, they will not only be physically and mentally competent persons, but they're also going to become important members of the society. Can that become a major resource for building up the national wealth? Can they go to the villages, they can go to the civil administration, they can go into the various government jobs, some of them will go into the private sector, probably they will all imbibe in the society. And they can build with them and they can carry with them a message of what the patriotism is, what the nation stands for, what the nation's armed forces are meant for, create that great awareness of the consciousness of the national security. Can there be some district that this foundation can think of, that it can work as an effective NGO, which provides the guidance and the inspiration and the future mark ahead for the Agniveers, or the Agniveers who come out of the army? Because ex-servicemen, etc., probably they are looked after the way that they are. In any case, they have got a predictable career. These people, these youth, this human resource will have an unpredictable career ahead. If they can they can be given the guidance, if they can be done the counseling, if they can be this thing by the veterans, probably we can all convert them into a great workforce that could be of a great assistance to them. Besides that, I think there can be many other new ideas that can be thought of. You know, last week I was in Israel, and of course we were talking about the Israeli wars and others. So, during my discussion, of course, not with the Prime Minister Netanyahu and others, but besides that, when I was talking to the professionals of my districts, their chiefs of various services and others, I told them, is there any lesson for us to take? And it was a very interesting comment that their NSA made. He said, you should be prepared for a surprise. But then he added, he said, if you are prepared, then it's not a surprise. So he said that all the past conflicts, Ukraine was surprised what Russia did, but Russia was surprised what had happened to it. But then after that, I think even both of them were surprised about each other. Nobody knows where they're heading for. Probably Russia thought initially that it would be a cakewalk. It wasn't. Ukraine thought that with so much of sanctions and the global pressure and all this, the Russians can be tamed and others, but that didn't happen. How do we prepare? If I say that there is a thing for a surprise, for something that will happen to you that you cannot think of. Who is prepared for that? Only a people with a certain mindset are prepared for that. And you have to inculcate that habit. Who can take spot decisions in real time? If you have got the capacity to take the spot, to real this thing, whatever the consequences might be, and whatever explanations and answers you have got to give it to this thing, you will be able to face the surprise. It cannot be predicted, so you cannot always be prepared. And since you will not be prepared, the first thought that comes to your mind, if you are prepared mentally and you have trained yourself mind, and if you are totally a professional this thing, you will find that it's your gut feeling. It's your instinct that matters, and that instinct is not something which is non-scientific. It's a highly scientific thing that comes with a tremendous amount of in-depth study, in-depth experience, in-depth vision, a lot of this thing. That sort of instinct will have to be developed amongst our leaders. And the leadership of the defense forces, which is the most important decision, who have to take the decisions on the spot, the quick decisions. How can we develop that sort of an instinctive decision for us? And those decisions sometimes are not very big. You are even confused whether I should put my pen on this table or the other table. Sometimes you feel that should I use my right hand to give it this thing, and you want to put the right paper in the waste paper basket, and you actually put it on the table, and the important paper goes on the other side. You get into this thing unless you cultivate those mental faculties. Be decisive, be very clear-headed. Always, never remain in a state of confusion. Now, we were thinking that whether we can think of having some special type of in collaboration with some of the psychologists, some of the advanced studies that are being done about the leadership qualities and the decision making. Whether this foundation could have a institutional mechanism where they hold some sort of specialized lectures and the courses for the serving officers or for the people at large, even this thing, that we are able to build up the capabilities for having and doing the research on that. We have got to understand first how the Indian mind makes the decisions. Is there a need to change on that? Is the first thought that comes, first thing that comes to your mind is the consequence? Or is the first thing that comes to your mind is the cost of a decision? Or is the first thing that comes to your mind is the object? What is your priority? All are important. All have to be considered. But what is the pecking order for that? Now that is what decides that we would like to have the decision. And that is the legacy. And I had very close contact and association with General Rawat as an army chief, and later as a CDS, and also as a army commander in the southern district, and later when he was a short period of time that he was working with other things. He was one person who could take decisions, and who could take not only a decision, but he could carry out the decisions taken. As I said, this is not a place where I should be talking about the professional things and others, but I can cite a large number of examples where he took very bold decisions. He took decisions, he helped us of telling, आप लोग decision लिए, हम लोग इसको implement करेंगे. He never was in two minds. You know what we say in Sanskrit, Shanshayat Naha Vinashaya. Never been the doubt. Be clear-headed, be have this thing. And we had General Rawat. That is a great legacy, and I think we all should learn from him, and we will continue this thing. But I wish this foundation a very great success. I am grateful to Air Chief Marshal Bhadoria and Manjeet and all others who are the office bearers of that. I saw their list. I wish them a wonderful time, and I do hope I will watch with considerable interest the progress of this foundation. And if I can do anything to contribute, please feel free. If some ideas can become, let it not become an occasion only that we hold it and then we forget about it. Let us see whether we can do something productive. Bearing his name is okay, but building the nation is something that will make his soul very happy. Thank you very much, all of you.
Our heartfelt gratitude to you, Mr. Dewal, for taking out your prestigious time to be here with all of us and for sharing your enriching thoughts. As you all are aware, that today we have gathered here to celebrate the 66th anniversary of the son of Uttarakhand and India's first Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat. General Rawat was India's pride. भारत की ज़मीन पर आतंकवाद की कमर तोड़ना और सीमाओं पर दुश्मनों को उनकी औकात बताने का काम जनरल बिपिन रावत ने किया. उनके कार्यकाल में सेना के नए कीर्तिमान स्थापित किए. चाहे सेना के आधुनिकीकरण का मामला हो, एकीकृत कमांड को साकार करने की बात हो, स्वदेशी हथियारों के निर्माण और आपूर्ति को लेकर सेना की ओर से बढ़ाए गए कदम हो, या फिर महिलाओं को स्थायी तौर पर सेना में शामिल करना हो, सभी जनरल बिपिन रावत के नेतृत्व में संभव हो पाया. इनमें से कई चीज़ों पर उन्हीं के विजन के कारण सेना आज भी काम कर रही है. GBR मेमोरियल फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडिया के लॉन्च के साथ हम जनरल बिपिन रावत के विचारों पर और उनके दिखाए गए मार्ग पर चलने का संकल्प लेते हैं. हमें उम्मीद है कि जनरल रावत का आशीर्वाद और प्रेम हमारे साथ सदैव बना रहे. Now, before we end this event, we would request the GBR Memorial Foundation of India to felicitate our esteemed guests by handing over mementos. I would request former Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadoria to kindly hand over the mementos to our Chief Guest, National Security Advisor, Shri Ajit Doval ji. Bhadore ji, I would also request you to hand over the momentum to General Anil Chauhan. And to Ms. Tarani Rawat. I would request Shri Manjeet Negi to hand over the memento to Mr. Bhadoria. We would now request Shri Ajit Doval ji and General Anil Chauhan to hand over letter of appreciation to the members of the Board of Governors of the GBR Memorial Foundation of India. We would like to start with the letter of appreciation be handed over to Ms. Tarani Rawat. I would now request a letter of appreciation to be handed over to Lieutenant General Anil Bhatt. I would request Dr. Manmohan Chauhan, Vice Chancellor of the GB Pant University, to kindly come to the stage to take your letter of appreciation. I would now request Manoj Rawat, former ADG, ITBP, to kindly come to the stage and take your letter of appreciation. I would request Colonel SPS Parmar to now come to the stage. I would request our guests to now hand over the letter of appreciation to Shri Rishabh Bapna of Kolkata. I would request Ajit Dubey, editor of ANI, to please come to the stage and take your letter of appreciation. Last but not the least, Animesh Sinha, I would request you to kindly come to the stage to take your letter of appreciation. I would request our guests to kindly take your seats. As we draw to an end, I would request Senior Editor of Aaj Tak and Senior Journalist Shri Manjeet Negi to give his closing remarks.
मैं अपनी बात रामचरितमानस के एक दोहे से शुरू करूँगा। तुलसीदास जी कहते हैं कि ता कहूँ प्रभु कुछ अगम नहीं, जा पर तुम अनुकूल, तब प्रभाव बढ़वा नहीं, जाई सके खलुतूल। भावार्थ यह है कि जिस पर आप प्रसन्न हों, उसके लिए भी कुछ भी कठिन नहीं है। आपके प्रभाव से असंभव संभव हो सकता है। भारत के प्रथम सीडीएस जनरल बिपिन रावत के 66वें जन्मदिवस के अवसर पर यहाँ विराजमान आप सब लोगों की वजह से, आप सब महानुभावों की वजह से ये कार्य संभव हुआ है। मैं हृदय की गहराइयों से सबसे पहले देश के राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा सलाहकार अजीत डोभाल जी का आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ, जिन्होंने अपने व्यस्त समय में से समय निकाला। और ये दूसरा मौका है, जनरल बिपिन रावत की पहली पुण्यतिथि पर वो हमारे बीच में थे और आज GBR मेमोरियल फाउंडेशन की स्थापना के मौके पर उन्होंने समय निकाला। मैं धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करूंगा देश के दूसरे चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ जनरल अनिल चौहान, जिन्होंने आज इस कार्यक्रम के लिए समय दिया और जनरल बिपिन रावत मेमोरियल लेक्चर पर उन्होंने जनरल बिपिन रावत जिस कार्य को अधूरा छोड़ गए थे उस पर उन्होंने आगे किस तरह से उसको लेकर जा रहे हैं इस पर उन्होंने बात की। इस हॉल में बैठे तीनों सेनाओं के जो वरिष्ठ सैन्य अधिकारी हैं, खासतौर से वाइस चीफ ऑफ स्टाफ जनरल उपेंद्र द्विवेदी, वाइस चीफ ऑफ नेवल स्टाफ वाइस एडमिरल दिनेश त्रिपाठी जी, वाइस चीफ ऑफ एयर स्टाफ एयर मार्शल AP सिंह और सभी वरिष्ठ सेना और प्रशासन से जुड़े लोग, NDMA के सदस्य राजेंद्र जी मौजूद हैं। उसके अलावा और इस हॉल में बैठे तीनों सेनाओं से जुड़े सर्विंग और रिटायर्ड सभी सैन्य अधिकारियों का, प्रशासन से जुड़े लोगों का और जनरल बिपिन रावत से प्रेम करने वाले उन सभी लोगों का जिन्होंने आज इस कार्यक्रम में आने के लिए समय निकाला। कुछ लोग दिल्ली से बाहर से आए, कलकत्ता से आए, बेंगलोर से आए, हैदराबाद से आए। मैं उन सब का दिल की गहराइयों से और जनरल बिपिन रावत के परिवार की तरफ से, उन सभी लोगों की तरफ से जो जनरल बिपिन रावत की सोच, जनरल बिपिन रावत के विजन से प्रेम करते हैं। और मैं उम्मीद करूंगा कि आज जो एक छोटी सी शुरुआत राम सेतु में गिलहरी की शुरुआत हमने की है, उसमें आप सब लोगों का सहयोग हमें मिलेगा। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं आप सबका हार्दिक अभिनंदन ज्ञापित करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और अब सब लोगों से अनुरोध भी करूंगा कि आप सब लोग चाय पीकर जरूर जाएं। धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
All the guests present here in this program are highly respectable individuals and actively engaged in national service. We would like to thank everyone, especially our esteemed guests, for joining us today and supporting the GBR Memorial Foundation of India. Requesting everyone to please go to the first floor and join us for high tea.